Welcome to another episode of Girl, You're Enough, where experts will share how to gain clarity on your passion, break through your limiting beliefs, and have the courage to pursue that passion. My name is Hilda Delatorre, and today I have the honor of interviewing this very talented, lovely young lady, Ashely Owens, who's your own personal network concierge. So Ashely, welcome.
Hi,
How are you doing today?
I am so thrilled to be here. I've been waiting for this interview for the past few weeks. I cannot wait to chat with you, Hilda. This is wonderful.
I am so excited that you are on this series because I really think that this audience will actually be very, very inspired by your story, what you do, and how you have overcome your own obstacles. And so I'm super excited for this audience to hear about your piece. And actually, let me actually start off with asking you, tell this audience, what is a personal network concierge?
I'm just a show pony and a lady of the night. Let's be real. It's really just a fancy title.
I love that.
Just hanging out. So my job has been, before this whole craziness happened with the country, my job before was I would do the tactical activity that brings the results of building a network. So what the hell does that mean? That means that my clients would hire me to go on site with them to events, to networking events, and be an extension of them. So think of me as like a professional ring woman that is without like the dating, without the dating aspect of it. So my clients would hire me to go to these events to help them navigate the room, to find the right kinds of events to go to, who the right people are to meet, to help build strategic partnerships. And strategic partnerships are defined as people that share the same target market as you do, but in a different industry. So for example, a real estate agent and a divorce lawyer are fantastic strategic partners because if you're getting a divorce, either you're upgrading or downgrading depending on the agreement. So in the buyer persona, that person, a real estate agent and a lawyer are usually really good because they're sharing clients in that capacity. So my job is to help and to support building that network, but doing tactical activities. I would go to conferences and I would work with clients at conferences at the booth and then vice versa. So they would hire me to go to conferences with them, to walk around, talk to other vendors, and be strategic partners attached to that. So it would be a whole plan leading up to it. I coach people into building up their own network, and now completely 100% virtually. So I just spoke with Cisco and a few other companies that have business development teams on how to take their or off-site activity, their in-person activity, and translate that to virtual activity. So right now I'm in the process of training a bunch of teams and then coaching one-on-one people on again, building up your network tactically, because everyone talks about like building relationships and everyone knows how to do that, right? Because you're talking to people, you're engaging as a human, right? But what does that actually mean? What questions are you asking that are deep, meaningful business conversation questions? How intentional are you? And so my job is literally to take what you do and turn it into networking activity. So that way, when I'm long and gone, your network is built.
Nice. Yeah, thank you so very much for that. That's actually even very informative to me. And it falls very, you made it very clear how a lawyer or a real estate agent would work together, because you're absolutely right. If there's a divorce, well, they have to now figure out how are people going to, continue to move on, whether it's your separate way or whatever, that looks like. So yeah. And then I think this is so powerful because a lot of people don't sometimes know where to even start. And then to do this by yourself can be very, very intimidating.
Right. Especially if you have your own business, right? Like talking about yourself is hard no matter what, right? And so how do you change the narrative on being engaging with your clientele and in your prospects and your clients and your network, so that way by the time somebody does come to you, you're not convincing them to buy from you. What you're doing is you're facilitating a nice introduction from somebody that you know, like, and trust, so that by the time they get to you, they're like, oh, you're a friend of Hilda's. That's fantastic. Like, I'd love to chat. Yeah. So it ends up building up your network in a way so that way you've got a group of champions. Yeah. And that group of champions becomes your army. So what happens when people, you're in a room, what do they say about you when you're not there? That's the point of building a network, is to, again, not like not like saying like, it's not going into a room and being like, I'm going to peacock it here and like be awesome. It's more of, are you seen as a subject matter expert in your field? Are people advocating for you when you're not in the room? And that's how you build the engagement and build a network that can facilitate more business.
Nice.
Thanks.
Very good. Yeah,
Thank you.
that makes total sense.
Thank
Let me ask you, how did you even get started in this industry? Tell me a little bit about your story.
So I'm looking at my watch.
Yeah.
It's a long story. Actually, it's an interesting story. So my background, I started my career in film and television. So I worked as a personal assistant to 2 celebrities in New York. So I used to basically hit the ground running. And I had a lot of therapy bills and a lot of stress, but I learned a lot about boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries and task oriented, but it also gave me a sense of urgency, so I can facilitate a lot of things at once and be able to compartmentalize the activities to help, whatever position I was in. So my job from there, after I graduated college, I had 18 jobs after graduation. And it wasn't I never got fired, and it was always due to mergers and acquisitions and budget cuts. So I was in great positions. I was working at eBay Enterprise. I was working at a company that, gathered data for oil and gas. I was working at SEI Investments, working in learning and development. And I had all these great positions that I just wanted to stay in, and things that were out of my control, not performance-based, allowed me to go from job to job. So ultimately, I looked like I job hopped when all I wanted to do was just stay in one spot. And I realized at that point that I was working my tail off about, in each position. And at that point, it didn't matter because the companies were too big, or they really didn't value their employees, or whatever it may have been. Or the company was getting bought out and they were transitioning. So I got to the point in my last position where I was selling custom software. And I woke up one morning and woke up and I was like, you know what? How the hell did I get from working as a personal assistant in film and television to selling custom software? And I felt like I had no idea who I was, because I just followed the flow. I was very, very, very compliant. I did what I was told. Got out of school, got a job, and just continued to do what I needed to do. And so I never really understood where my skill sets lied. So what I decided to do was to take a minute, because I was working with a company called Power Match, and Power Match matches up like-minded individuals to cross-promote and to collaborate. And so I had no idea where my skill sets lied, and I had learned about the DISC profile, learned about Myers-Briggs, and I wanted to take those assessments to figure out what not to apply for. Because at the time, I was applying for everything just because I needed to get, some income coming in. And because my positions were 8 months to like 9 months every time, 18 jobs, since graduation, since I graduated in 2010, it was like a job a year, sometimes 2 or 3. And it became where I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I was capable of doing, how I made decisions. So I decided to take the DISC assessment and Google positions that relied on my personality, my skill sets, and like how I make decisions. So that kind of gave me a line to go into. So I talked to the woman at Power Match who runs it, and she had me sat down with 2 other people on a call that was a business coach and a positive psychologist. And they basically went through my entire background and kind of helped me identify certain things of basically what to stay away from, because it just felt like a huge thing. And I had a network, and I was awful at closing deals. So I was working in a sales position. I had left that, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I never quit a job. I quit that job, and I took 2 weeks, and I wanted 2 weeks just to like reevaluate. I left on that Friday. Again, after my 2 weeks, I left on that Friday. That Monday, went to a networking event after I had that meeting with Power Match and the brainstorming group. And still reeling with ideas, not really sure what, the direction. Do I go back into film and television? Do I go back into being a personal assistant? Like, all that stuff. So I went to a networking event, and I went to my buddy Todd Hessbacher, who runs networking at the Phillies games. And I walked around, and I took a step back, and someone had asked me, hey, what do you do? I was like, I do nothing. I'm here to hang out and make new friends. Like, oh, what happened? And they're like, oh, did you quit your job, or are you entering this? And I'm like, I just quit my job. And every woman was like, good for you. They didn't care about the story. They were like, good for you.
Okay. Wow.
They were very, very supportive. So I walked around and I took a step back, and I was looking at this opportunity, how easy it was for me to chat with people and really generally get to know them. And I enjoyed that, and that came easy to me. It's like, all right, so I took a step back and I looked ahead. I was like, how the hell do I help all these people? What's the commonality? Well, they're all networking. Great. What does that mean? Because networking is such a word that gets, put everywhere. What the hell does it actually mean? And so I went up to somebody and they asked me what I did. And I was like, I'm in between jobs, but tell me, what sucks for you about networking? Like, you're here. Like, what sucks right now for you? Well, I hate going alone. Okay, well, why? Because I walk into a room, I don't know anybody, it's still kind of weird, I hate it, so I usually bring a buddy, but that buddy usually gets drunk, and it's the whole thing. I'm like, okay, well, what's the other thing that you hate? I hate the follow-up. Okay, well, is it because of the time? So the commonality was time. Was the time that it took to build a network. And so I walked around to every person, I just kept adding on to the questions. What could possibly, could we... And I came up with service offerings based off of basically doing a survey of everybody at the event. Somebody overheard me. He came over and he goes, hey, would you ever network for somebody at a book signing? And I said, sure, yeah, absolutely. Like, what are you thinking? He goes, well, I have this book signing. It's going to be involved in like a group setting. I'm going to be behind a table, and I'd like to be able to maximize my event there, or like the people there. And so, would you be able to come? I said, sure. I'll figure it out. He goes, all right, give me a call in 2 weeks. I said, oh, damn. So in 2 weeks, I had something to prove. I had a website. I had liability insurance. I had headshots. I had a logo. I had an semblance of service offerings, a proof of concept, and a master services agreement. I had that within a week. All I did was drink espresso blend coffee and just went and built something.
Wow.
So I go back to this gentleman and I go, hey, you asked me to call you back in 2 weeks. I'd love to learn more about this opportunity. He goes, well, it's tomorrow and it's in State College. And for those of you who don't know where State College is, I live in Philadelphia. That's 4 hours away from me. Okay. So I drove 4 hours to do a 2-hour meeting or 2-hour event and 4 hours back. And I was like $7 at the time. But he gave me a list of people, the kinds of people he wanted to meet to build strategic partnerships, who would be a good vendor for him. And I did that, and I gave him all the information he needed, and that was my first client. That same client hired me a year later to go on a 4-day conference, and his name is Marty McDonald, and he works at Bad right now, and he was my first client ever. Wow. So in 72 hours of leaving my job, I got my first client based off of networking. And I wasn't going in there to sell, I was going in there to learn. And that ended up becoming, and that's when the world opened up. Since then, I have done over 75 speaking engagements. I've been flown out to do conferences. I was on the Mel Robbins show. I've spoken at the Pennsylvania Conference for Women, given over 1,000 introductions to people, and I have webinars and trainings and all that jazz for a ton of people. So I get flown around to speak on this particular topic. And what I've been doing has what the difference between myself and other people that work in the similar space is that I'm looking at the speakers that are in a similar topic, and I'm doing the opposite. Like, I have a foul mouth. I go into it being like, this is me. I have done everything but me for years, and it's gotten me nothing. And so if I'm going to start this business, it's going to be a heightened version of me, so that way nobody feels they can't come up and talk to me. Nobody feels that they can't joke around and be a little self-deprecating. Like, at the end of the day, networking is such a personal activity, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. So if you put humility to it, it becomes more of an achievable task rather than something that burdens you. So that's my story. I don't know if I've talked your ear off enough, but
no,
this is straight vodka, guys.
Yeah. Hey, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon somewhere, right?
It's water. It's fine. It's water.
We're asked to stay home, you know.
Listen, I'm not wearing pants. It's a good day for everybody.
Hilarious. You're too funny, Ashely. I love it. You know, as you were telling us your story,
Yeah.
I can see how so many people would relate that they graduate from college and hit the ground running,
Yeah.
thinking I got to get out there, and it can become, overwhelming, overstressed. Maybe not being hired where you dreamed of working,
Yeah.
or life gets in the way, marriages happen for certain people,
Yeah.
children, deaths, whatever it may be. Let me ask you, how did you get from what you wanted to accomplish from point A to point B without letting C, D, E, F, G stop you?
It's a great question. So my inability to know my value
Mm,
is what pushed me forward, and I'll explain that.
okay.
I didn't know what I had was valuable
Mm,
until it was affirmed by somebody else. So I would do anything that I was asked to do
mm,
because I didn't know where my skill sets lied. So I was always like trying to prove myself. So I just thought the crap that I was dealing with in every position was normal and that's what you did.
mhm.
So when I had sexism, I didn't recognize what mansplaining was until 3 years ago. I just thought that was normal, crap that happened in a boardroom. I
Yeah.
didn't understand what that was because I was never taught that. I did what I was supposed to. And so
Mhm.
that naiveness of not knowing my own value
Right.
didn't give me a voice until I started the business, when I recognized that the only person that I needed to prove was to myself, because I had literally tried everything else. Nonprofits, big biz, I'd done
Mm,
every other option well, and it still wasn't enough.
right.
So my bitterness, truthfully, and I got pissed off enough to make a choice, to make a decision. I did have help in the beginning, but like relationships and friendships and things like that, sometimes I have the best people in my life now, and I had the worst people in my life now. So
Right.
it just, you don't know what happens. The best advice I can give, especially as kids are coming out of college, is
Mhm.
that can I curse on this? No.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna eat shit for 2 years. You're gonna eat shit for 2 years. You're supposed to. The thing is, you want to come out of it soft. You don't want to come out of the working world soft. You want to come out
Mm,
with street skills, because nobody, first of all, if you have an internship, I talked to my old high school the other day. If you have an internship and you're going into it, don't think of it that you're going to gain skills in the industry. You're there to meet people. You're supposed to be bubbly and meet people in the office. You're there to build connections.
mhm.
You think getting coffee and like learning a skill is going to happen in an internship? Absolutely not. You're an information broker. You're
Mm,
there to gather information and meet new people for a later date. That's what you're trying to do. And in that, you will learn more by watching those people that you're trying to engage with than you'll ever learn with a task that you're given. Like, you're there to do that. You're there to
mhm.
network. But it's frustrating. I mean, 2010 is when I graduated college. We were coming out of a recession 2 years before,
Yeah.
and all of the jobs that I had lined up, or at least a good handle on, because I did my due diligence 2 years before, I was reaching out. Like, I did everything I was goddamn supposed to, and it meant nothing after, because something happened. Like, the world collapsed, in
Right.
2008. We're in that pandemic right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
So it's an interesting transition, and yet I'm the busiest I've ever been, because I chose to shift
Mhm.
instead of fight. Because fighting can only get you so far. It can
Right.
get you a chip on your shoulder. It can make you into a diamond, and it's good if you're a little raw, because you won't take things so seriously anymore. So I used to hate the entitlement that
Mm,
other people had. You're not going to get a six-figure job unless you're a coder,
mm,
unless you are specializing in a specific technology that is in high demand, and you're a human. If
mhm.
you think you're going to come out of school and be a stylist, you're going to have to work your ass off to do that, because they're a dime a dozen. If you're coming out of school to be a CPA, like, you still have to do business development, which means that you have more skills you need to learn that only happen if you get proverbially punched in the face.
Yeah.
Like, there's things that you're going to have to do, but the quicker you get proverbially punched in the face, the easier it's going to be to change it next time. So that way you're like, okay, well, I got through that. Let's go to the next step.
Yeah.
Because people nowadays, like, they're coming out of school and they feel like they're owed something. I sure as shit felt like I was owed something 7 years ago when every job I had didn't mean anything.
Right.
And then I had to defend myself in these interviews. So like, I absolutely understand that, but guess what? Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares. Either you start your own stuff or you quit complaining.
Yeah.
There's so many options right now for people to get jobs, to do the gig stuff. I would always have 3 jobs at once. When I was in between stuff, I was casting for other movies just to keep my creative juices flowing. I was working as a waitress, and then I was doing deliveries. Like, I've always had multiple. I haven't saved anything, but it was enough because I had student loans, you know?
Yeah.
So my story is based off of fighting. I'm a fighter, like, you know, but I didn't know my value until I started the business. And that's how I was able to kind of come out of that, if that makes sense.
Yes, completely. And I love that how you tied it down to what we're going through right now in this global pandemic, because I do believe we're going to find ourselves in a very similar situation as in 2008. And, you know, obviously if there's college students right now watching this, they were too young to know how that affected the US. But I know people are unemployed right now, and things are definitely needing to shift. And the woman watching right now might need to go back in the workforce when she didn't have to before, or switch it because now it's I have children, so how do I even get to start virtually?
There's online gigs. You can use steady.com. You can Google online work. Like, there's like, do the due diligence to research. Like, why are you sitting like, woe is me? Like, there are going to be moments where you have imposter syndrome. You're like, I can't do this. And believe me, mothers are superhuman, and working mothers are out of control, like, incredibly, and I bow down to you. But if you're but I think the worst, maybe this is just a pet peeve of mine, but I think it should be a pet peeve of yours too, I guess, maybe, is like when somebody comes to you and asks you a Googleable question. I'm like, it took me 6 months to build this. I'd be happy to tell you about this, but like, we're not going to walk you through it. Like, I figured it out because I needed to for my business. Right. And if you're not going to take yourself seriously to do the due diligence you need to build your business effectively, I'd be happy to guide you in the right direction, but I'm not going to do it for you. Right. You're going to go, like, Google it. Yeah. Like, here you go. You know? So it's just that's frustrating. But otherwise, like, it's different now because we can't go outside, right? We can't have that meaningful connection, and it is challenging. However, everybody is feeling the same way. Yes. Networking now is so important because people are thirsty for human-to-human interaction more than ever. There's also no gatekeeper. You're calling people directly. You're engaging with them online. You're providing value in some way. And you're reaching out because are you okay? Can I help you with something? That's the foundation of networking. It's not just how many connections can you make and how many referrals can you give. It's like, how can I help you? And that's at the very, baseline of it.
Right. And I love how you just said, Google it, because right now that's the biggest difference in, having this global pandemic now versus if we would have had it, 30 years ago, where there was no internet, where there was no way to connect. But now we have the internet, we have Google, and we have answers that we can get out there and do it. So I really loved how you added that virtual piece, because there's no excuse.
And no one's going to save you. And everyone's an idiot. Number one, everyone's an idiot, right? If you think of it that way, like, everyone, don't pretend that people are going to follow up with you, because you take that responsibility. Follow up with them, and just in general, because if you take that responsibility and wish and hope that they follow up with you, it's not going to happen. They haven't taken my courses yet. But my point in saying this is, like, if you take it upon yourself to lean into the crap that's happening now, just lean into it, but like, this is the way it's going to be, and we're going to adjust and do it. Micro goals every day. Make your bed. It's a micro goal. Do one task. Make your bed. put it, 3 people you want to talk to today. Just do something that is beneficial to your head and to your heart and to your business. Beautiful. And those micro goals will allow you to complete tasks instead of being all over the place, which trash brain happens, right?
Right.
But for those women out there who feel like that they're going about this alone, in some aspects, you are. There's feelings that you have, and there are thoughts that you have, and there are tasks that you have to do that only you could really quantify how painful or how challenging or how hard it is. And so I am not disregarding that whatsoever. That is something that is close to you, and it's yours. That is your burden that you're taking on, and I understand that. Everybody, and I in any stretch of the imagination. What's important though is recognizing that you own that. Right. Nobody's going to tell you how to fix that. You're going to get advice and you're going to get motivation. But if you go at a task knowing that you already have the tools to complete it, that you're just kind of navigating how to complete it, it's going to be easier knowing that you're not waiting for somebody to come and swoop in and take it and help you. I find that to be kind of, there's a freedom to that, knowing that I'm the solution, right? So, when you say, girl, you're enough, you are enough. You're enough. Stop, you're enough. Like, why? Stop. No, you're enough. Like, and I think we have to remind some of these badass women in our lives to be like, you literally already have the tool. I was on a call. Sorry, I'm going to go over. I was on a call with a woman. So I did a training for American Technology Incorporated, and they get coaching attached to it. This woman on the phone with me, and her name is Tammy, and I probably shouldn't use her name because she's awesome. But anyway, so she reached out to me, and she's like, "Hey, I want to go deeper dive into like what you talked about in the training." So she calls, so we talk, and she's a mom, number one, beautiful. Her hair was stunning on the call. I now have to bring that up because she's stunning. Okay. And she was literally telling me all the activity that she was doing, and I look at her, I'm like, why the hell did you call me? Why are you she goes, I'm not sure. I don't know. I feel like I just want, I'm like, you needed permission from me to tell you what you were doing was correct. And that all day I will do that. Absolutely. But you got to recognize that you already know what the hell you're doing. Yeah. You already know. She goes, I said, yeah. I'm like, you're a mom, for Christ's sake. You know exactly how to multitask. You know how to compartmentalize different things. You already have the skills. Let me give you a few different suggestions of how to like build upon that list. But otherwise, like, you're not vanilla at this. Yeah. And I feel like we need to have these conversations with our friends, especially women, to be like, bitch, you have everything you need. You've got it. Like, I just need you to, here's your permission. You've got this. Don't worry about it. And then if you've got questions, I'm here. But otherwise, go. Just do it. You know, what's the worst that can happen? You screw up, good. You won't do it again. Yeah. You know? And so I think in the theme of all of this, girl, you're enough. It's like we have to and be that person for your own girlfriend who is single, who's going through a divorce, who is a single mother, who is a mother, like whatever it may be, like remind them that they're enough. Right. Because they'll figure it out. There's a Reese Witherspoon. I saw a clip the other day of her. I can talk. I've had a lot of coffee. That's okay. She was talking about how, do you ever see in movies a woman in a situation where like they have to figure something out? Do you ever see a woman in real life? In the movies, they always like, what do we do? But in real life, if the situation actually happened, you never see women go, what do we do? More of like, we'll figure it out. Right. So I found that to be so interesting. Like, have you ever seen a woman ask, like, what do we do in this really awful situation? Like, bitches know how to get shit done. Like, we know how to do that. Love it. And we have to remind ourselves that we know how to do that. Right. So, That's my
Yeah,
little
I
soapbox. I get
love that.
very
I
excited.
love that. I love that. I love that because I do think people, women forget how powerful we are and how
Dude.
resilient we are, how we do know how to multitask. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you've been multitasking your whole life, staying at home, trying to get the home organized. That's no different than getting your business organized or getting, if you're an employee or getting back in, just get organized. You
Right.
already been doing it. So
Yeah.
powerful, powerful.
It's literally a shift into
Shift.
like, okay, instead of doing that, we're going to do this,
Yep.
You already
Yep.
have the tools.
Yeah.
You can't teach that.
Right.
Those life skills you can't teach. It drives me
Definitely.
nuts sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, you can do it.
And the other stuff, that you don't know, that's why you have people such as yourself, Ashely, that can help you network and help you, get through the components that you might have not learned in your skill set. So
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you. And like I stay in my lane, right? There are people that are, so when you network, because usually in the networking setting, you have the job that you do, which is usually business development, you have your own business, and then you network to facilitate those activities, right?
Mm-hmm.
My lane is I stay solely into activity-based results in networking.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are in my industry, like Power Match and Centricity and like the chambers and they all have a niche, and we're all
Right.
in the same sandbox, except we're building different castles. That's all it is. So as you guys are building up your network and figuring out different facilities, like you're looking at like LinkedIn, you're looking at how do I have a conversation with somebody, and from all this stuff. There are so many tools. I don't want to talk myself out of job, but there are so many tools and resources out there that are valuable, and I've just cultivated and tested and made it personal. But no matter what, as long as you're doing activity, you're going to breed results.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. You can go to Bryn Tillmans of the world, she's a subject matter expert in LinkedIn. Like, these are my partners. These are people that I always refer to, because based on your personality and what you're looking for and what your goals are, then you just siphon them off to the people that know that subject the best. I just
Right.
happen to stay fully into networking.
Right. And one of yeah, definitely. One of the component that goes along with that is not feeling like you need to know everything. You just need to know how to find the person that knows, what you need. You just need to
You know
be
how much you can get done
resourceful.
with introduction calls with subject matter experts? You know how much you can get done? You go in there with a list of questions. Everything. Everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh God, it drives me crazy. If you don't know the answer, find it. But you know what? That also came from being a personal assistant, where I was too scared to ask for help, so I just figured it out.
Yeah.
That's honestly why I'm like bitter like this, because I just
You're
scared.
like, I gotta figure it all out myself, so you can figure it all out too.
Or
Well,
I'm
it's
getting fired.
yeah.
Sneeze the wrong way.
That's you're too funny.
Oh,
Let
good.
me ask you, what would be your words of advice for this woman who is going into this, whatever it is that we're going into, whether it's a recession, whether it's, build, growth, world of possibility. Let me ask you, what are your advice to them?
One person at a time.
Mhm.
It takes one person to make your day better, to inspire, to change a mindset, to change your activity. It takes one person at a time. Right now, things are very overwhelming, which includes, how many people do I follow up in a day? How many people do I do that? Like, there's this numbers game. If you go into a conversation with intention, and with a value proposition, not a sales, but a how can I help you, and also have resources to help them in some way by doing the research, you're going to go into a conversation that is a lot more fruitful on both ends, because now they have, so the advice I would give, it takes one person to make a difference. One person. And you have to remember that, like the conversation we're having with you, like my phone's off, like I am zoned in on you, and that, because there's intention behind that. I want to laugh, I want to make you, like, cracking you up makes me very happy, right? So but that was my goal for today. And so every introduction phone call you have, every engagement that you have, has to be intentional. Otherwise, why the hell are you doing it?
Right.
I have one story. I have a second. I have one story about the intention. Do I have time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when I was coming back from New York as a personal assistant, I had left that position and I was working as a waitress. I worked as a waitress on and off for 3 years. And I was at the lowest of my low because I had no idea where I could be. I was working in New York as a PA, and then I came to Jersey to live with my parents. Like it was bad. So I was working at a diner, and a gentleman, two guys came over to the booth. And at that point, my only goals that, for the last couple of years has been enjoy my time while I'm there. And I loved the people that I worked with. So I went over to the table, and these guys were really nice, and we were chatting and cracking up, and I was being myself, and they asked me what kind of burger they should get. And I went around and asked them, well, not what you like, but like, what's your personality like? And I made some BS up, and based off of their personality, I grabbed them a burger. I'm like, you're a little spicy. We're gonna get you the buffalo burger. Just doing a bit, right? Being myself, doing a bit, trying to enjoy my time there. At the end of the meal, they asked me, hey, could you send us your resume? I was like, well, why? And they're like, well, we may have an opportunity, what do you do? Or I asked them what they did, and they said, we sell furniture, online furniture. I'm like, all right. Okay. I'm like, think you guys show it in the tip. Like thinking that they were just being friendly and like, whatever. I'm like, show it in the tip because again, I didn't know my own value. I had no idea that this was a serious request. Mm-hmm. The next day I ignored it because it's just, fast-paced the environment. The next day, the owner of that business came in who was at my table and asked to see my boss. My boss called me over and he goes, hey Ash, like these guys were looking for your resume. You never sent it over. It's like, oh shit, okay. Sent my resume over. And they're like, hey, would you come in for an interview? Now, they've only seen me as waitress Ashely.
Yeah.
So I go into this interview, New York Ashely, and they're like, Jesus Christ, like this is what, So I sat down. They're like, we liked how you sold us a burger. Mm-hmm. That's why you're here today. I was like, okay. So in half an hour, I got a full-time job, benefits, $50,000 in a salary. And within 3 months, they plucked me from being a waitress. And within 3 months, I had the highest sales because they guided me they gave me direction.
Right.
They let me go. Basically, they let me do whatever I wanted me, like conversation-wise, and then tweaked it along the way. They didn't go in there with like rules or process. But my point in telling this story is that it took one person to pluck me out of that. And that catapulted me to where I am now. Right. So when you're going into these conversations, you have no idea whose day you're making or whose life you're changing. Right. And if they never came to my table that day, and if I never acted the same way I'm acting now, then I would have pretended in a different position and then would have not have been here. Right. So it's my advice to kind of wrap this all up. My advice is it takes one person. And if you can be that one person, you never know whose life you're going to change. Right.
Right. So powerful because you really demonstrated in that day, your innate power. You were just being you, authentically you, and you were enough. That's right. And so that changes the trajectory of your future. That changed the trajectory of your life and your career. Yep. So beautiful. Those are some powerful words that I hope you as the listener are grabbing onto and really understand that you are enough. Ashely, where can our audience find you?
Places all over the interwebs. You can find me at ashlyassist.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. It's all Ashely Assist. Ashely Assist. My full name is Ashely Owens, networking concierge. And you can find me anywhere. My phone, I'm not even got my phone number, but Ashely at ashlyassist.com. And you can find all my information there. I'm running a program right now called the Champion Program. And that Champion Program means you get a chance to chat with me every month. You get added to a Slack channel where you can actually chat with me every single day, and then you get 3 introductions from me, strategic partners for my own personal network. So that program is specifically virtual, and you get a chance to chat and go deep dive into your network.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so very much, Ashely. We really enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you so very much to the audience for tuning in, and until next time, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.